It feels like it's been the longest winter and the longest February in Canadian history. But as we go through this snow and terrible weather, the Liberal leadership race is still on. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Warren Kinsella and Brian Lilley. I know it's February in Canada, Warren. It's cold. It just feels like it's been going on for a very, very, very long time. We are here on the cusp of the Liberal leadership debate. They're having two debates, one in French, one in English, and a leader yet to be chosen. I think we kind of already know, Warren, who the leader is going to be, but nonetheless, the debate is imminent. And what do you expect to come from it?
Well, I pulled over to the side of the road because I'm so happy that Justin Trudeau will finally be gone. I mean, that's the biggest thing, and that's the most dramatic thing that's had an effect on the polls, had an effect on all kinds of fronts. So Justin Trudeau will be gone. Yay.
Mhm.
Um, but it's also resulted in something unexpected. So we've seen the enormous lead that the Polyev Conservatives had at the end of the year has even disappeared, according to some pollsters, or has been greatly reduced,
Oh,
according
oh,
to
wait.
others.
Who said that could happen?
Yeah,
Wait,
there's a
wait, who
guy.
was that? Who
Here it
said?
goes. Yes, I
Even
remember.
liberals told me I was crazy.
Yeah, no, but I just, for our viewers who don't know, the three of us shot a video weeks ago where Brian Lilley knocked us off our chair and said the Liberal Party could still win this election. And
Mhm.
we thought Brian had been hitting the bottle, but anyway, turns out he's right. They
Maybe.
they could. However, as you point out, Adrian, we've got these Liberal leadership debates coming up next week. And this is really going to be, this is not like a setup with, canned jokes on the Daily Show. This is not this kind of low bridge campaign that Mark Carney's been running. This is going to be an actual debate with some other politicians who know what they're doing.
Mhm.
This is where we're going to see if Mark Carney is up to the big job.
Brian, there are 400,000 Canadians that signed up to vote in this Liberal leadership race. Now that list is is going to be verified and culled, so it won't be that high of a number, but still a good healthy number to vote for the next Liberal leader. The debates that are coming up, as Warren points out, all the spotlight and the focus is on Mark Carney. I mean, we've already joked about it in our paper. We refer to him as Prime Minister Mark Carney because the next Liberal leader will be the next Prime
Yeah.
Minister. I just wonder, is there anyone else on that stage, Karina Gould, Chrystia Freeland, Ruby Dalla, who's found herself in some controversy, is there anybody that is going to penetrate through what the national media, has already really anointed Mark Carney?
James Moore, the former conservative cabinet minister, had a great line on CBC the other day. He said, "There's been three great love stories in history: Romeo and Juliet, Will and Kate, and the national media and Mark Carney." Uh, and he's absolutely accurate on that. So, will it penetrate? I mean, I hate that you're using that Klaus Schwab word there, penetrate the cabinet. Will it penetrate the media? I don't know. But, look for Ruby Dalla to hit hard, at least in English. She
Mhm,
doesn't speak very much French, and
mhm.
they've denied her a translator. Um, Frank Bayless, watch for him to knock Carney off. Carney is not good at speaking off the cuff, or as he may put it, extemporaneously. Was that
Mhm.
the big $5 word? He's not good at speaking off the cuff. That's why he gets into trouble with things like saying he will back national projects like pipelines using emergency powers when he's standing in Kelowna, and then goes on French CBC and tells Patrice Roy, "Oh, no, no, I would never impose a pipeline on Quebec. No, no, Quebec gets a veto."
Mm.
Carney has caught himself out more times than once. Like he said, he would balance the budget in 3 years. And everyone went, "Wait a minute, you've promised a ton more spending. How can you balance the budget in 3 years while jacking up spending and doing a tax cut What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to split the budget in two and I'll balance this side, but not that side. That's not what we had during the Chrétien years with
Hmm.
balanced budgets or the first couple of Harper years with balanced budgets. So look, and then as far as the 500,000 or sorry, 400,000, look, my dog does not have ID, so she won't be able to vote. There's lots of people whose dogs and cats don't have ID. What's bizarre is the Liberals have put out the rules on how you have to verify yourself, and it's actually stricter than a general election, which is kind of weird because the Harper government had put in rules on voter ID that were not overly strenuous, but the Trudeau Liberals came in and said, "Oh, that's going to disenfranchise people. We can't have that." And
Hmm.
now their rules, after we all mocked them for the fact that a 14-year-old non-citizen from China or India or Russia could vote, they've tightened up the rules. Those people can still vote, but they've got to show more ID than you need in a federal general election.
Warren, I think that Carney is enjoying a short honeymoon, even though he's not leader yet. Um, and again, the polls we knew were going to tighten. That was inevitable. I didn't think it was possible to carry a 19-point lead going into a federal election for the Conservatives. But that said, consistently, though, you see a collapse in the NDP vote, Liberal vote, gobbling most of that up. But voter intention remains the ballot question remains time for a change. And so I'm not sure how Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, for example, really push back against that when the leadership race is over and when that spotlight and that focus goes back on, Poilievre versus, let's say, Carney. I have a hard time seeing how he pushes back against that simply because, like Brian points out, he says one thing in Western Canada in French and English. He says another thing in Eastern Canada in French and English. I remember another prime minister, Warren, used to do that, Paul Martin.
Mr.
We know how
Dithers.
things ended there. So the vulnerabilities for Carney.
Well, I think the ballot question used to be time for a change. I don't think it is anymore. This is why the Liberal Party has become so much more competitive
Mhm.
over the past 6 weeks. The ballot question is Donald Trump. And, the reason why the Liberal Party has moved up is Carney is seen as more credible and experienced dealing with an economic question. I actually don't think it's an economic question. I think it's a political challenge that actually accrues to the benefit of Poilievre more. But the problem Poilievre has got is polling shows about half of his base like Donald Trump. And a lot of other Canadian voters know that, and they don't like it. We all saw what has been happening with the Four Nations tournament. That's just a small microcosm of the mood of the country. Canadians have become very angry, very upset, very anxious about Donald Trump, and that has changed our politics dramatically in just the past few weeks. So the question for the election is no longer time for a change. It's who is best able to deal with this existential threat that we're facing from this man who says he wants to make us into the 51st state. And it amazes me, frankly, that they're prepared to put their faith in a guy that we don't really know anything about.
Right.
He's about to become Prime Minister of
Well,
Canada. He doesn't even have a seat in the House of Commons, and he's never run for political office before. That's a really big leap of faith. It's a risky leap of faith, but I think the Poilievre guys, they need to pay attention to that and say, what is it that we're not doing to deal with that problem? Because right now, as Brian pointed out weeks ago, the Poilievre Conservatives could lose the election.
Brian, last word to you.
I would say that I think Poilievre did a great pivot last week with his speech on Flag Day, where it was positive nationalism. I mean, remember how Justin Trudeau went down to Washington and took some meetings and did some media, and how did he describe Canada? Well, we're not Americans. I've always hated that description of Canada. I've always hated the idea that you just say, well, we're like Americans, but with free healthcare and no guns. No, Polyev stood out and gave a very positive nationalistic view of, and I use that term in the best sense, um, of what Canada is and what Canada could be. And then you see the op-ed from Stephen Harper that we ran in the Toronto Sun and other media ran as well, talking about the need to build our country up. We can't
Mhm.
rely on the United States. We need to build our country up. Mark Carney's trying to talk like that's what he wants, but he still wants net zero. He still wants to give Quebec a veto on a west-east pipeline. He still wants to have his cake and eat it too. No, that's not where we are anymore. And I know liberals are going around saying, well, Poilievre doesn't love the country. He said it was broken. Yeah, the fact that housing costs doubled, the fact that immigration is a disaster, that the liberals, despite promising months ago to get a handle on it, still can't get a handle on it. I mean, this proves that the current government has not been working. And so you've got we're going to swap out Mark Carney for Justin Trudeau, and all the supporting cast are going to be the same. That's like switching out the two Darrens in Bewitched. The show is still the same. We're not going to get something different by doing this sort of change. We need a change in government, not a change in leadership in the Liberal Party.
Well, perhaps after there finally is a leader, they might be put under the spotlight. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to the torontosun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.